Okay, so let's sew up some trousers. So welcome to my vaguely organised craft room. For regular viewers who've seen me sew in here before, I have had a bit of a switch around. The table is now here and the ironing board is now under the window. I wouldn't fit under the table, we'd be very practical there, but it's under the window. You are currently sitting on the overlocker. So yeah, if it's a slightly weird angle, that is why. I haven't quite sussed out all of the appropriate shooting angles for this room in this layout as of yet. But I'm hoping that having the table that I put the sewing machine on this way around, I've got the full length of the room for arm span, so hopefully that'll make things a little bit easier. If it doesn't, I can always swap them back round, but we're going to see how it goes with it in this configuration. Now, regular viewers will know as well that I have set myself a focus area for the first 3 months of the year, which is to work through some of my long-standing WIPs. One of them is sitting right there in that basket. That is my second pair of Mitchell trousers by Closet Core. I made a pair in corduroy that I wear a lot. I did those as the wide length version. This is in a greeny turquoisey cotton, so a very different type of fabric, and I'm doing the narrower leg version in that. I cut them out within a few months of making the first pair, at least 18 months ago, possibly more. So they've been sitting there a while, waiting to be sewn up. Obviously I have changed size and shape a little bit since then, but I was wearing my first pair of Mitchell trousers yesterday, so fingers crossed, all should be good on the sizing. The good thing with the Mitchell trousers is that they have an adjustable waist, and the first pair that I made, I felt when I made them that I'd graded up to the larger size for the waist compared to the hips because of my measurements, but I felt that was actually a bit much, so I haven't done that for this pair. This may come back to bite me, but I'm hoping not, because of the amount of give in the adjustability on the waistband on the Mitchell trousers. So I'm going to get that basket down, check that I've got everything I need in it, aside from obviously thread, because I don't store that in there. And yeah, we'll make a start on working out some angles so you can see some of what I'm doing. I'll see how far we get today. It's Tuesday today. Tuesday afternoon. I really probably should have started this morning, but I procrastinated. So I'll see how far we get today, and see how far we get on Thursday, because that'll be my next opportunity to do some sewing, hopefully. My plan is to have these finished by Friday. So yeah, it is a lightweight fabric to the one that I've already made a pair in, so they may not be getting worn just yet, but if I can work through my longer standing WIPs and get them out of the craft room, then I'm freeing up space to organise things better, because you can see I've got piles of stuff everywhere and things are just shoved in places. So yeah, we need to get things organised, which means we need to reduce the amount of stuff that's in here, and to me it seems the most efficient way to do that is to finish the stuff I've started, because then they're gone. And then I can look and see what I've got left and what I want to keep, what I want to get rid of, what I want to sort of hand on to someone else or somewhere else. Yeah, my problem is not that I have huge stashes for each of my various crafts. It's that I have so many crafts that all their little stashes adds up. So yeah. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to check my basket, make sure I've got everything, reread the instructions, remind myself what I'm doing, work out whether I'm using the overlocker or the sewing machine, that kind of thing. If I'm using the overlocker, I'm going to have to remember how to thread it. Okay, so I will get back to you when I've got a little bit of an update, when I've made a little bit of progress. Okay, I've taken a bit of time to go through the instructions and write myself a little list of steps so I can track my progress, just in case I get lost, because I'm planning on doing this over multiple days. I'm trying not to just bash out a garment in a day as much as possible, because that way mistakes happen. So I'm just trying to take my time a little bit. Now, thankfully, the fabric is not as turquoise as I thought. In fact, it's not turquoise at all. This is what happens when you've had things cut out for a long time. You misremember things. So this is the main fabric. I've done all my interfacing now. So this is my main fabric. This will be the welt pocket, well, the welt for the back pockets. So that's the exterior fabric. And then my pocket linings and my facings are done in this zodiac print. This is a cotton. Well, they're both cottons. This is it's almost like a quilting cotton, but not quite. So yeah, so that's done. So my interfaced pieces can go back in the basket for now. Next step is to prepare the straps. Now, the view that I'm doing technically doesn't have the straps because I'm doing the tapered leg view, but I want the straps, so I'm doing the straps. Which is fine. The way the instructions are written, it's easy enough to do. I'm hoping that there wasn't that much of a difference in the waistlines on the tapered leg version to the wide leg version, because I can't remember if it's the same pattern piece and you just like change the bottom of the legs, or if it's probably different pattern pieces. I didn't compare the two at the waist. So we might have a little bit of an issue at the waist when they're done, but that's okay. They're all cut out now. Too late to change it now. And there is plenty of room in the other pair, which will be made to the same block. So yes, I'm going to get these straps prepared and get them. We'll get the back straps attached to the darts. I think I might not get much further than that today, because the stage after that is doing the welt pockets, and they take multiple steps. So we'll see how I feel as we get later in the day. Okay, so we're back in the craft room. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning, so I actually got my button gear to get started. Today is welt pocket day, and looking at my list, if I can get as far as, let's see, if we get the welt pockets done and the front pockets put together. Yeah, it'd be nice if I can get as far as you know, the back pockets, the front pockets, and the fly-in. But we shall see. Welt pockets need this little pile of stuff. They take a few steps. It's been a while since I've done any. I have done welt pockets a few times before. Obviously, I've done them on my previous version of the Mitchell trousers, and years ago I did them on the back of another pair of cord trousers actually that I wore for ages. I think they might have been a true bias pair. So I have done them before. Not a huge amount of times, but a few times. Yeah, they are a little bit of a head scratcher at times, and they do involve cutting your fabric in the middle of it, so it's one thing you want to take your time on. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'll try and get the welt pockets done by lunchtime. I think if I can get those done on the sewing machine, I can then switch to the serger for the seams, or for finishing seams. I'm just looking at the instructions, and they do actually have you finish the edges of the facings and so on first? Might get the overlocker out first and finish those edges. I might be able to put some of it together with the overlocker, but I think it's definitely going to need a sewing machine because there's like sewing around the slits and things. So yes, we'll do that. If I had a slightly bigger craft room, I would be aiming to have the overlocker set up all the time and the sewing machine set up all the time, but I don't have that space. This room is also an office. Not that it gets a lot of office use, I don't work from home, but if I have any sort of admin stuff to do, that's in here. So it is very much a multi-purpose room, and it's not really big enough for that. So yeah, so I have to change my setup for different machines. That wouldn't be an issue. It wasn't the fact that I find that every time I set up the serger, it decides to be a silly bugger. I haven't had it out for a while. Last time I had it out, it decided not to let me thread it. So we'll see if we can get it set up. If we can't, I'll have to resort to zigzag stitch for the edgings, but I have no blocker. We shall try and use it. You are sitting on it at the moment, so I will have to switch you off to get the overlocker out. And hopefully it'll behave. Fingers crossed that I've got it done right. It seems okay. We'll see how it does when it's actually sewing. Well, it's settings don't look too bad. We'll go with that. They're not perfect, these overlocked edges. I should probably... Yes, darling, I should have changed the tension, shouldn't I? So I've got a couple of little snarly bits, but for the most part they're fine, they'll do the job. Having struggled to get it threaded, I don't really feel like messing about with the settings. So, next step, I think it's going to be best served with the sewing machine. This is why I would ideally like to have a setup where I've got the overlocker and the sewing machine both set up at the same time, all the time. So I can just switch between the two when I need to. Yes, darling. Be much more efficient, wouldn't it, darling? Yes. But I don't have space for that, so we'll have to move the overlocker and hope that that doesn't mess it up for when we need it next. Yes. And we'll get the welt pockets put together. So I need to attach now the... Can you get your foot off it? Thank you. The back pocket lining to... Well, there's the back pocket facing to the back pocket lining to make the actual pocket bag bit. Then we need to attach the welt with its markings on it to the outside of the trouser leg. And then we need to put the combined pocket bag situation on the inside, and then we cut into things. So yeah, I think the sewing machine is going to be the best option for the next few steps of sewing. And then hopefully we'll be able to come back to the overlocker when we're actually putting the legs together and doing the inseam and the side seam. And probably putting on the waistband facing as well. And we'll finish up on the sewing machine for finishing their facings. I'm going to probably bias bind. He's being really helpful. There's something outside that he's interested in. So he's sitting on my pieces. So we'll finish up on the sewing machine for the hems and finishing the facing and doing the fly and that sort of thing. Yeah. Hopefully, between the overlocker and the cat, I'll still get the belts done by lunchtime, but we'll see. As long as we get all the pockets together today, I think that'd be good. If we can get as far as getting the fly in, so much the better. So that's before the seams, I think, before the inseam and the side seam. So yeah, the order of operations on this one is a little bit chop and changey. But having only made it once before, I don't really want to be messing about with the order too much, because it's been a while. If I'd only just made it, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll do these bits together and these bits together and it'll be fine. Which is a far more efficient way to do it, particularly when you have to change the setup all the time. So yeah, until such time as I have a bigger space, we do what we need to do, don't we, Leo? You're going to sit there for a while, aren't you? I'll get back to you once the cat has let me do a bit more sewing. Okay, one of the features of this pattern is that they've designed it so that the nice fancy lining fabric is seen by you as you are getting dressed. So the facing for the welt pockets goes on the wrong side. From the outside of the trousers, you should only see this fabric. So that I'm using the same as the exterior fabric, which I think most people would do. And then that's a nice little surprise lining for me. And so that shouldn't be visible on the outside. Be the same with the front pockets. There's facings so that you only see the outside fabric from the outside of the trousers. You see a nice fancy lining fabric when you're getting dressed on the inside of the trousers. So you can go wild with your fabric for your lining, even if you're making these for like workwear. You can look nice and respectable on the outside and have a Superman lining if you wanted to on the inside. It's absolutely fine, and that's how they've designed it, which I think is a really nice feature. So that's the pocket bag for the welt pockets all put together. So next we have to put the exterior bit of the welts, which is this bit, which is marked up with cut lines. That needs to go on the outside of the back trouser leg. It sits at the bottom of the dart, and so the point of the dart is in the welt. You don't want the dart coming out below that. It just sits over the bottom of the dart itself, the point of the dart. So yeah, that's that. So we'll get that basted on or pinned on, and then we attach the pocket bags to the insides. And yeah, I mean, it is a lot of steps for welt pockets, but they are coming together, and they do look very smart when they're done. I do like the look of a welt pocket. They're just a bit faffy to do, but each of the individual steps are straightforward. So as long as you take it a step at a time, it'll take as long as it takes. I take it a step at a time and it's fine. And there are a couple of pressing steps. This pattern does give you the instructions step by step for the welt pockets, which is really good. I haven't come across many pocket patterns that are just like make a welt pocket. They do usually break it down a bit further. But then again, I've only done welt pockets on independent designer patterns. I haven't done welt pockets on the big five, so I don't know if their typical scant instruction writing technique follows through to techniques like welt pockets. But there are tutorials online for it. There is, if you're using a digital version of the instructions rather than printing out, I like to have mine printed out. there is a click here for blog tutorial on how to sew welt pockets. So Closet Core has a tutorial on their website. And yeah, you'll be able to find them on YouTube as well. Not necessarily Closet Core, but there will be people who have done good welt pocket tutorials. So yeah, worth the effort, I think. But we'll reassess that once I've done them. Okay, so we've got the... Yes, I know! We've got the stitching in place. There's some ironing, cutting steps to come up next. As you can tell, the cat is telling me I need to take a break. So I'm going to take a break and have a cup of tea and fuss the cat. And then we'll get the rest of these welt pockets finished after that. Okay, so the cat wanted snuggles and treats and snuggles. So break's been had, quite a long break, including lunch. We're back at it. So I've got some pressing and folding and cutting steps to do to finish off the welt pockets. And then we move on to the other pockets. Well, the instructions have you do the back crotch seam after you finish the welt pockets. I'm in two minds about whether I do that then or not. I'm going to reread the instructions for the front pockets first, because I want to do seams with the overlocker now that it's working, assuming I haven't messed it up by moving it. It doesn't make sense to swap the machines over to then swap them back and swap them back again. So if I can do all of the seams at the same time, then I will. If, however, the front pockets need any overlocking, which they might to finish some of the fabrics off, can't quite remember. But if they do, then I will get the overlocker out and do the back seam and anything for the front pockets. But let's get the welt pockets finished first, and then we'll see where we go. Okay, so I've just pressed the welt so that it's supposed to help it with turning. And notice that on both sides, I've managed to not quite, some of this is just crease, not quite get it below the point of my dart. Am I worried about that? No. I suspect I probably stitched the dart ever so slightly longer than I was supposed to. But to be honest, if you are noticing that the point of my dart is below my welt pocket, why are you staring at my butt? So yes, we're not unpicking that. We're going to leave it as is. I have done it on both sides, so I mean it is balanced. It looks intentional. It's not, but it looks it. So yeah, so now we're going to cut open the welt pocket along the marking. I'm going to do this off camera. And then we pull that through and do some more pressing. So yeah, it's lots of pressing for welt pockets to get them to look the way you want them to look. It's about precision. I'm not the most precise, but it'll be good enough. So yeah, so I'll get on with that and I'll show you them when they're done, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so we're now on to Friday. I would like to get the trousers finished today. I mean, this video is going to be out to you tomorrow anyway, whether they're finished or not, because schedules. But I'd like to get them done today if I can. My only hesitation over that is that today the entirety of Ireland and the United Kingdom are under weather warnings for Storm Eowyn. We're under yellow weather warning where I am, which means high winds, but not like risky winds. That we're quite far away from where it's mostly hitting. We're on the east side of the country. It's hitting out on the west and the northwest at that. But we were woken last night at like 4:30 by the winds and haven't been able to sleep since. It's now like 9 o'clock, so I'm caffeinating. So yes, we'll see how far we get today. Hopefully I'll get everything done. The only sort of real complicated bit left is the fly front. So yeah, so hopefully the lack of sleep won't be too much of an issue. And yeah, I dread to think what it's like in the northwest and into Scotland, because oh, the winds were strong last night. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to put on some YouTube to keep me stimulated. I need to do the last little bits of the front pockets and serge around the edges. I think I'm going to need to do that before I move on to the next step, just because it's going to be a bit more awkward to do that serging once I put the pleats in. So yeah, so finish the front pockets and serge them, and put the front straps with the buckles on into the pleat, make the pleat. Then it's fly front, side seams, inseams, facings. So yeah, most of what's left is relatively straightforward. It's going to be a little bit head scratchy when we get to the fly front. And I will need to be careful when I put the facings on, because I think I've put the back straps a little higher than they're supposed to be. Am I going to unpick the dart and redo them? No. But, we're talking maybe a couple of eighths of an inch too high. We're not talking like way too high, just a little bit high. So I think it might make the seam allowance a little bit tricky at that point, but it's only a tiny point, so we'll be fine. Just have to be careful and be scant with the seam allowance. The seam allowance. Told you I'm caffeinating. So, be scant with the seam allowance at the point where those straps are. So yeah, so I'm going to get on with that, and yeah, we'll see how far we get. Okay, so this is one of the best features of this pattern, in my opinion. We've got the strap there into the pleat. That's not the best bit. It's the way that the pocket grows out of the pleat. It's such a nice, neat little detail. So that's all done. Bar tacks in. Next up is zip fly. It's 10 o'clock. Wonder if I can get that done by lunch. Okay, managed to confuse myself with putting the zip in the fly. So took a break, had some early lunch. It's like midday now. And I realised I hadn't had breakfast, so went and had a cup of tea, some crumpets, and some snacky stuff, which is much appreciated. Looked at what I was doing before I stopped, and I had it absolutely right. I just need to actually sew the zipper in now. I think it's tiredness was making me overthink a little bit. It is still extremely windy here, so hopefully everybody on the northwest side of the UK is doing fine. My bins haven't gone flying down the street yet, so yeah. Not that matters in the northwest, but yeah. For context, I live in the East Midlands, so if you folded England in half, I'm on the crease, a little bit inland from the coast, just above where the bit that bumps out from Norfolk is. And the worst of the storms are over in the northwest, so the top of Wales, Northern Ireland, and into southern and central Scotland on the west side, so like the Glasgow area. So hopefully everybody over there has battened down the hatches and is doing okay. But, I'm still caffeinating. I'm on my umpteenth cup of tea for the day, which is about right for me anyway. Husband made me a nice cup of coffee this morning when we both gave up on trying to get back to sleep at about 6:30. He's napping now, so yeah, I struggle to sleep during the day, so we'll keep going as long as we can. So yeah, so I'm going to get the zip sewn in. After that, it's top stitching the front to give that sort of fly front look, and then we need to do the fly shield. So that's the bit that goes between you and the zip when you're wearing trousers. And then a couple of bar tacks, and we're onto the side seams and inseams, followed by the facings and buttons and hems and things. So once I get past the zip bit, as long as I don't mess it up, so once I get past the zip bit and the fly bit, it should be fairly straightforward. So yeah, so we're going to do that. I'm going to switch my foot out to my zipper foot because that's going to be useful for putting a zip in, and get cracking. So I will give you a little bit more of an update when I've got a bit more sewn. They're turning out quite nicely so far. I'm pleased with how they're going, and I'm hopeful that I'll get everything bar, you know, the hand finishing done. Maybe I'll stop before hems and buttons, we'll see, because obviously I'll need to try them on at some point. Yeah, but I'm hopeful that I should be able to get most, if not all of it done today, before I have to stop to, you know, make dinner and edit for you guys to see this tomorrow. But, onwards, before I start waffling in my current state of mind, just watching the trees behind you do this. They're big trees as well, so it's a bit unnerving. Tea's gone cold. Good job, I'm used to that. Working in education, you never get to drink your tea hot. So the fly front is all done. I hold that out. It's nice and smart from the front. There's no visible zip on the outside. There'll be a button or a bar and hook on the front. I think I'm using a bar and hook for this one. Done a little bar tacks at the bottom. I've bias bound the seam for the fly guard, so that's the bit that stops you zipping yourself into your zip. So yeah, so that's good. I'm probably going to finish the bottom of the facings and the bias tape as well, assuming I've got enough. If I haven't, I will probably serge the bottom, use a different bias tape, one or the other. I have a satin blue bias tape, which would be fine colour-wise, but this is more of a cotton, and it feels better with the fabric. The satin I've got is like a polyester satin, so I'd rather have cotton. I do have a green cotton bias tape as well, which I considered using because of the busyness of the fabric for the facings, but this actually works quite nicely with it, in my opinion, and it's only me that's going to see it, so yeah. So I do have an alternative if I need to. I actually have another green as well. There might be enough of that green. That's quite cottony, so that might be an option as well, because I've got a dark green, and I think that's actually a thinner, but that's a thinner bias tape as well, so that would be a better fit. So that's my backup if I don't have enough of this one. I should have enough of this one because I ordered it when I ordered the other notions, but you never know. I might have miscalculated. So yeah, so that's done. So next step is the inseams and the side seams. The inseams, they have you baste the crotch together first to make sure that everything's lining up before you go ahead and sew. So although I'm doing the seams with the overlocker, so I'm going to serge them, I'm going to use the sewing machine to do the basting, So I switched to the grey thread that I've used for some of the earlier seams. I was going to save this for all the visible stitching, got carried away, but I've only got this amount of green left, so I want to save that for the hems, because that's going to be visible stitching on the exterior of the trousers. Everything else from this point onwards is inside the trousers, so I don't mind having a green or what have you, a green or a grey or whatever for attaching bias tape. The serger is loaded with blue. I only have white and blue, white and navy for my overlocker. I really should consider getting some more colours. A grey would be good. Grey goes with most things. Yeah, my default colour for thread is usually grey because it just blends into things and doesn't like scream and shout that it's not a colour match. So we're going to sort the crotch seams out. We're going to then switch to the overlocker to do the inseams and the side seams, and then we'll come back to the sewing machine for the facings and the hems. The facings are all they've all got interfacing on, so I don't think I'm going to need to overlock those unless I decide to finish them off with the overlocker, but that's really a non-issue. Okay, so I will probably come back to you around about the facing, because otherwise you're just going to be watching me sew straight lines, and that's not necessarily the most interesting. So I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I've done the inseam, and as I was pressing the seam, I was like, you know, well, sometimes it's the little things that nobody's ever going to see that really make you happy when you make stuff. Now, check out how well those seams have lined up. That's a perfect cross. It's going to be between my legs. Nobody is going to see it, but I know it's there. So pleased with that. I very rarely manage to get them that well meeting up. They're normally slightly off. So yeah, really happy with that. But like I say, absolutely nobody is ever going to see it. I realised as I was sewing the bias tape onto the facing, I probably should have sewn it to the wrong side first, because I'm going to have to stitch again to the right side, and it's always neater when you top stitch from the right side. It's not a catastrophe. I will just fold it over, pin it in place and top stitch it from the right side instead of from the underneath, just making sure that I catch underneath, which should be fine because I think it should be about the same place. It's one of those things. Let's go on with it. Trim down the seam allowance first, slightly. Not because it's wrong or anything. In a couple of places the interfacing is sticking out above the seam allowance, and in a couple of places it's just a little bit bulky, which will just be inaccuracy of stitching the bias tape, so it's not a big deal. So yeah, so I'll just trim that down and then fold it over and stitch down the second time. Yeah, big scissors for this one. Okay, so bias tape is on the facing. So a bit of pattern clashing going on, but I actually quite like that. I don't normally pattern clash, but if you're going to try it somewhere, try it on the inside of your clothes. You may be wondering why I decided to pattern clash the bias tape and the lining fabric. Short answer is I didn't really. I ordered the bias tape to go with the exterior fabric, thinking that I was going to do the facings and the pocket linings in the same fabric as the exterior. Now I can't remember whether I just decided to use the contrast linings or if I ran out of the main fabric. It's that long since I cut them out. But anywho, I already had the tape when I picked this for the lining, so that's why we've got it. But I think it works. So yes, next step is to get this into the trousers, and then we'll get the hems done. I need to put bar tack in at the bottom of the pockets on the side seam, and then it's a load of hand finishing. I should be able to get all of the machine stuff done before I need to stop for the evening and do dinner and edit and that kind of thing. Probably not going to have the hand finishing done, but that's okay. Not a problem. We'll get as far as we can get. There's not a great deal left. There's also not a great deal of light left. The wind is still going. The trees are still swaying. Really hope my friends up in the northwest of the UK and up into Scotland are okay. Hopefully there's no power outages. Okay, so let's get on with this. Okay, so here they are. Everything apart from the hand finishing is done. So they're pinned together at the moment a little bit. I need to do some stitching to hold the facings on the inside. I need to attach a button, a hook and bar, that kind of thing. But everything else is done. I haven't tried them on yet, even though I've hemmed them, which might come back to bite me. But, given that I was happy with the length and the others, and I don't think I shortened them at all, I think we should be fine. If not, I can adjust the hem, that's no big deal. Yeah, so we've got 2 hot pockets in the back, just hidden behind the straps there. One of my straps is slightly high, but it's like 1/8 of an inch. It's not really going to matter. So yeah. Pockets are done, fly front is done, bar the hook and bar, and the insides are looking very pretty, or at least they will do when I finish tidying up all the loose threads. So I think we can call these done, but they will be done by next week's video, which will be my roundup of what I've been working on in January. So that's one of my long-term WIPs that I very shortly will be able to tick off once I've done that hand finishing. So I'll get that done over the weekend, but I need to get this out to you tomorrow. And I'm not going to have time to do all the hand finishing and edit tonight. So yeah, so they are done, essentially. All of the machine sewing is done, all of the complicated sewing is done. It's just the titivating that is left. and finding out if they still fit, given how long ago they were cut out. If they don't, I'm sure that they will either not be far off fitting, and obviously being a woman of a certain age, my waistline fluctuates a bit, so it doesn't mean that they won't ever fit. And if they're way out, then I can find them a new home. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. So that's the Mitchell trousers. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. But until then, there is this one here that may be of interest to you, and I will see you soon. Until next time, happy crafting, and bye-bye for now.